Hi everyone! Today our life skills is about self-care for caregivers, and we're going to be talking about 5 different types of self-care that I'll talk about in the next slide. But I hope that caregivers and people who have caregivers will both watch this and understand that everyone needs time for self-care and that these are just a couple suggestions of ways that you can take care of yourself. This isn't skill therapy. And this is something that you choose how you want to do it on your own time. So let's dig in. This life skills presentation focuses on activities caregivers can do to take care of themselves physically, emotionally, socially, spiritually, and mentally. These are the 5 different types of self-care that we'll be discussing today. Feel free to pause the video on this slide so that you can look at the different kinds of ways that you can focus on the different types of self-care. Tennis, a caregiver at ASF, gives us insight into a lived experience of a caregiver, explaining that finding time for yourself when you are constantly helping others, such as your wife, mother, and church, on top of other responsibilities is difficult. Being a caregiver can be stressful. These are the different signs of caregiver stress. Feeling overwhelmed or constantly worried, feeling tired often, getting too much sleep or not enough sleep, gaining or losing weight, becoming easily irritated or angry, losing interest in activities you used to enjoy, feeling sad, having frequent headaches, bodily pain, or other physical problems, abusing alcohol or drugs, including prescription medications. It's important to notice the signs of caregiver stress so that you can find ways that work for you to lower your stress levels. If you neglect to make time for yourself or take care of your needs, you will eventually fail in every other role you have. This is an anonymous quote that I found, and I thought it was so important for understanding that it is important for caregivers to take care of themselves, and that'll help them to care even better for the people that they're caring for. So there are a multitude of ways that you can do this, and I will mention a few. However, you are the expert on yourself, so please put your individualized spin on these suggestions or look into other ways to take time for yourself. Research shows that caregivers should spend at least 15 minutes to themselves each day. And here are some suggestions for ways to take time for yourself. The first type of caregiver self-care we're going to discuss is physical self-care. For physical self-care, exercising, eating a balanced meal, getting adequate sleep, and taking care of your health are all ways that you can take care of your physical self-care. Caregiver Tennis's advice for physical self-care is take care of your feet. As a caregiver, you're constantly moving, so take care of your feet or you won't be any help to anyone. Another ASF caregiver advised caregivers to make your doctor's appointments back-to-back with the person you're caring for to ensure that you make it to your appointments as well. Restorative yoga for caregivers is a great way to focus on your physical self-care. A multitude of studies have found that yoga is beneficial to caregivers. One study found that yoga significantly reduced feelings of depression and anxiety and significantly improved perceived self-efficacy in caregivers. Advice from our anonymous ASF caregiver is to get active with the person you're caring for so that you can get exercise too. To access this video, search Restorative Yoga for Caregivers on YouTube or copy the link in this video. The second type of self-care that we're going to talk about is social self-care. For social self-care, take time to nurture your relationships with friends and family and engage in face-to-face times with your friends, which right now might look more like FaceTime or Zoom, but it's still important. A study on caregivers showed that attentive listening, so listening to the person that you're taking care of instead of immediately jumping to fix the problem, but sitting back and just listening to them, positively impacts not only the person you're caring for's health, but also your health. Participating in a caregiver support group is a great way to get social support from others who understand what you are going through. There are support groups offered online during this time for people who do not want to risk going out, but there are also support groups offered online year-round to support our caregivers who cannot get away long enough to go to a support group in person. For those who can go in person and feel safe doing so, face-to-face communication is great for social self-care. Some suggestions from our caregivers at ASF in order to engage in social self-care is to stay connected to your social supports, whether it's through Facebook, phone calls, or even online church services, and to really make sure that you're getting out of the house when needed to engage with other people besides just the person you're caring for. The third type of self-care that we're going to discuss is mental self-care. For mental self-care, find activities that mentally stimulate you and engage in things that help you stay mentally healthy. That could look like taking a brain break and enjoying a nice relaxing day out in a hammock, or doing some coloring to help your brain focus on that one activity you're doing at that time. Or it could even look like reading a book with a nice cup of coffee. Advice from Tennis, a caregiver at ASF, on mental self-care is, the best way to take care of yourself is mental separation. You can get away physically and still take care of someone mentally, so take mental breaks. One way you can engage in mental self-care is through the app called Luminosity. Luminosity is a great way to work on your mental self-care because it can be used on your smartphone or your computer. It trains your brain, tests your memory, logic, math, skills, attention, speed, flexibility, and problem solving. Luminosity offers 3 free brain games per day on the free version, or you can pay $11.99 per month or $5.99 per year. The fourth type of self-care that we're going to be talking about is spiritual self-care. For spiritual self-care, engage in spiritual practices that you find fulfilling. Develop a deeper sense of meaning, understanding, or connection with the universe. This could look like meditation, attending a religious service, or praying. Using journal prompts for self-care is a great way to focus on your spiritual self-care and to cultivate self-awareness. Feel free to pause the video on this slide and use these journal prompts meant for self-care to better understand how you take care of yourself and maybe even make goals of different ways that you want to work on taking care of yourself in the future. The fifth type of self-care that we're talking about is emotional self-care. For emotional self-care, find healthy ways to process your emotions and engage in activities that help you feel recharged. A caregiver at ASF advised, if the person you're caring for can help with chores around the house like washing dishes or starting the dryer, let them take on some of those responsibilities to take some of those responsibilities off of yourself to help you recharge. One way you can take care of your emotional self-care is through using grounding techniques. I found this grounding technique on YouTube by searching, "Are you stressed out? Try stop exercises for caregivers." Or you can pause the video and copy the link below. This video is a grounding technique that uses 4 steps to help you when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed with your caregiving responsibilities. STOP is an acronym. The S is for stopping what you are doing. T is for taking a few short breaths. O is for observing your emotions. And P is for proceeding with a sense of awareness. In this life skills presentation, we covered lived experiences of caregivers, signs of caregiver stress, the importance of self-care as a caregiver, 5 different types of self-care, and examples of the 5 different types of self-care. Thank you, caregivers, and thank you specifically to the caregivers of the participants at ASF. You do so much to help support the participants at ASF, and we just want to thank you and let you know that you're appreciated. And we hope that you'll try your best to find some time for yourself and to work on your own self-care.